Hello everyone. I want to quickly run us through setting up Facebook settings for posting to any of our pages. Now this is very easy. We just need about 4 things from Facebook settings. We will require an app ID, an app secret, the ID of the page you want to post on, and lastly an access token. Now these 4 things put together will enable us post to any of our pages as though they were actually us. One way to understand the how Facebook works generally with authentication is to think of anytime you want to get into your Facebook account, you're required to log in. Now when you log in with your username and your password, it almost behaves as though you're giving Facebook, the app itself, access to do things on your behalf, although you're the one doing all the control. Now this method allows them to extend into their API in the same way, such that you can give an app access to do for you what you would normally do by yourself on Facebook. Now that is where the access tokens now come in. Now because an app is different from you, the user, apps are given access tokens. Some of the access tokens are short-lived, which is the usual one that comes with an app whenever you log in for the first time with the app to get permissions. And the other one is a long-lived access token. That is if you don't want to keep renewing your permission every time. Now in this case, we are going to get all 4 things, but we'll pay particular attention to the access token and the page ID, because that will go a long way to making sure that we don't always have to log into Facebook to renew the access token for whatever app we want to use to post in. Now we're going to start with the first two, which is the app ID and app secret, which is pretty simple, but in order to get that you will need a developer's account. Now we can access a developer's account by going to developers.facebook.com. Now okay, you won't be required to sign in, provided you're already signed in on Facebook like I am. And I already have apps, but I'm going to create a new application just for the sake of running us all through. Now like I said, the first 2 things we need are the app ID and app secret. We will get that from an app we will create. So we'll start with add a new app. Now it presents us to a page you want to create. It presents us this dialog where you have to give it a display name. I'll call it my app. Now the contact email for the app, which is my own email address or your own email address. Then you choose what is the app supposed to do. Normally I go to utilities and then create an app ID. Now okay, an error or sort of like a security check, which normally is not there. So let me put in the captcha. It should be an F, a W, a D, R, and G, and submit. Facebook installs these features in order to make sure an application isn't the one creating an app. It should actually be a user. Okay, so my app has been created, and the first thing we need which is the app ID, is already presented to us. So I'll quickly call up a notepad and put in the app ID for later use. Click to copy, and I can keep this aside. And the next thing we would need after the app ID is the app secrets. Now on this dashboard, we quickly go to settings, and you have it here, app secret. Now you'll be required to show it, which you'll be required to put in your password. Um, 60 and submit. Now this is the app secret, so I can quickly copy it. You will notice by the side there's a reset button. Now that reset button is, for example, if maybe you set up an app and you don't want the current users to have access to it anymore, you can simply either revoke its access, their access token, or better still, reset the app secret. That will lock them out. Come back to our notepad and put in app secrets. App secret, voila. Now these two are pretty straightforward to help us get to where we are going. Now that we've gotten our page ID and app secret, the next thing we want to do is get the page ID and then the access token. Now, like I said, the access token allows Facebook to impersonate, say who is doing what on whose behalf. Facebook is posting on your wall on your behalf because you logged in and you're doing the control. An app is posting on your wall on your behalf because you've given the app an access token, and this can usually be gotten by logging in on that screen that will pop up. Now we don't need all of that authentication, we want a smooth ride. So we come to tools and support. I would like to open that. Remember I said we're after now the page ID and the access token. Now we'll explain that in a moment. Now the easiest way to do that is not usually by the access token tool. I prefer the Graph API Explorer because it helps you understand the whole process. Now with the Graph API Explorer, it's an app in Facebook. Now for it to interact with whatsoever, because this whole display is given to users or developers to test the commands that they're actually going to be sending to Facebook to see the output. Now the commands are usually tested as the Graph API Explorer, and before it's going to test against your account for the first time, it would usually come up with that box for permission. But in this case, we don't want the access token of the Graph API Explorer. We want an access token of the app we've just created. Now if I click the Graph API Explorer, I select my app. What happens is this long string of digits is the access token now given to my app to interact with my account, getting only public profile and then probably email address, of which we can get all of that here. But that's not just what I want now. I want the extra mile to be able to post to my page. So I'm going to request or get a token for my page. I'm choosing this this page here, the WP MultiStore Builder, and you see the access token changes. Then when I click it again, I want to go to through the extra mile, because this access token only gives you right to manage the page meaning you can get the page ID, but you cannot post to the page. So if you go with just this access token, you would always get an error from Facebook or from the app you are using. So you need to request publish page publish pages. And of course, now you see what has come out here, submit for login review. Now this will not be necessary since you are the one who is creating this and you are going to use it for yourself. But if others are going to use it, or you want to use it on the behalf of others, you will need to submit your app for approval from Facebook. But since it's us, it will always assume it's the admin who is doing it, so there will be no serious issues. All you just need to do is just say okay, and my app has been given privileges to post on WP MultiStore Builder's page as WP MultiStore Builder. Now here's the other drawback. This access token is going to expire on the 8th of March, which is tomorrow by my time, in the morning. That means that is barely 1 hour from now. It's going to expire. So if I want a longer access token, I would have to come to the open access token. Now, before I do that, this is my user ID attached to my name, my app ID, and best of all, my page ID. So I can use this opportunity now to get my page ID and of course put it aside. Oops. There. Now, like I was saying, I don't want an hour access ID. It will mean that after an hour, whatever app I'm using this on will require authentication, me signing in or someone else signing in. And if someone else signs in, a lot of things won't work. So I need to open in access token 2, and there at the bottom you can see it expires in 58 minutes. Here at the bottom you will see extend access token. I will click that. Now it has now given me an access token that will expire on the 6th of March. That is 1 month, which for now is good enough. I can just simply select the whole of this right to the end. Oops. Right to the last D. Copy, Ctrl C, come back to my notepad, and token. Paste the incredibly long string of letters. And there we have it. We've been able to get our app ID, app secret, page ID, and access token, for which we can input into our apps to allow us to post to our pages as our pages. Now, in the case where you want to post to your page as you will not get a page access token. Instead, you get a user access token, and the process of getting a long token is pretty much the same. Thank you very much for seeing this video.